the amount of damage you have, he has no access to that. All 3 in the prize cards.
Indeed, but here we actually see Israel start the game off going first, has 2 Alolan Vulpix, and right away he Ultra Balls away 2 Water Energies into his discard pile, which is exactly what he wants to be doing to make the best possible use of his Aqua Patches. Finds a Bridget with the Tapu Lele that he found with the Ultra Ball, and Bridget finds him 3 Pokemon, including a Sudowoodo, a Tapu Koko, and of course a Remoraid in order to start getting his Octillery in play as soon as possible. He attaches a Water Energy onto the benched Alolan Vulpix, and that's going to be the end of his first turn. So it's a very quick turn 1 for Israel here, and now Aaron Tarbell gets to start his own setup. Remember, both of these Pokemon decks need to set up their Pokemon. They do not have turn 1 massive attackers as they both evolve throughout the game.
Yeah, now over on Aaron's side, not as an explosive start. He has the Professor Sycamore, which is going to give himself 7 cards. He's going to be looking for some basic Pokemon. The best play, of course, for these decks generally, since we're in a slower format now, is to have Bridget, get all of your basic Pokemon online. Next turn, use that draw supporter. For Israel, it looks like that's what he's able to achieve. But Aaron, on the other side, he's going to have to go with a slower approach. Just a Training Kiss, actually.
Wow. I mean, I know that the turn 1 for Aaron normally isn't very explosive, but this is definitely not ideal for him, as all he's got is 2 routes in play and a single energy. And he had a Sycamore away, a couple of pretty important cards in this deck. Obviously, the Field Blower, less important when your opponent has 3 Choice Band in his prizes, but still, there's no way for you to know that. Yeah. And now a Rough Seas does come down for Israel, as he uses it right away to get rid of that 1 damage that got applied to the Alolan Vulpix. And now Israel does contemplate his options in his hand, but you see a couple of Aqua Patches in there. And a couple of Water Energies in the discard pile. How convenient.
Now, unfortunately for Israel, he has no way to get out of the active spot. He has the option to use Beacon, and he just wants to save the fact that he has those Aqua Patches. He doesn't want to use those right now. No need to invest so heavily into that Alolan Vulpix on the bench. Just go ahead and continue your setup. He's going to make sure that he has the Safeguard Alolan Ninetales and then an Octillery to continue draw
So
power.
Here's the deal, by the way, is Israel is taking a safe approach, but remember, whenever you use Beacon with your attack, your opponent normally wants to play an N on the following turn. So for you not to spend your Aqua Patches there does kind of risk them going away, because your opponent is very likely to play an N anyways, regardless of what you have, just specifically because of the fact that you beaconed on your previous turn. But here we see a Rare Candy into a Gallade here from Aaron. And now he's going to be playing an Ultra Ball, finding himself any Pokemon in his deck that he'd like to find. But turn 2 Gallade is nothing to scoff at, as that's just a very powerful play no matter what deck you're playing.
Yeah, that's right. The ability of Premonition, that's going to allow him to look at the top 5 cards of his deck, and he can basically just arrange them any way he wants to make sure that he's going to be in a better spot for the following turn, or so that his draw supporter can allow him to draw those cards.
And right away, he found the Oranguru with the Ultra Ball, which is going to allow the Premonition to actually start drawing you cards, the correct cards when combined with the Oranguru. Very powerful combination of the 2 abilities, and sure enough, Aaron gets that into play on turn 2. So as you guys can see, the Gallade does get to Premonition. The top 5 cards get to be rearranged in any possible way that he'd like. And now Oranguru will allow him to draw any amount of cards as long as it gets him up to a 3-card hand. So that's just a very powerful combination, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, he has the Field Blower, so now he's going to see 2 of those cards. He can give himself the Bridget, which of course we talked about how important that is to get all of your basic Pokemon down, to maybe allow for some Rare Candy into Gardevoir GX in the following turns. But he also gave himself an Energy card, which is going to be the most important piece of this puzzle in order to start taking some knockouts.
Yeah, that Alolan Vulpix will be going down. But that Bridget's also going to be finding Aaron a couple of Pokemon, including an Eevee.
Yeah, Eevee's an interesting piece for him to start going for now. The Sylveon is very nice for early setup when you're trying to get a lot of cards, but it doesn't happen to be very useful in the later game. So we'll see if he has to go back to that if this Gallade falls super early. There's always the chance of that, especially when your opponent was able to hold on to some great cards like those patches.
Sure. And now Tapu Koko does become the active Pokemon. He gets promoted as the Alolan Vulpix does go down to a Sensitive Blade here from the Gallade, and that is going to be the first prize of the game taken by Aaron Tarbell here. And there was no end play, which means Israel Sosa did get to keep a stacked hand. And sure enough, he's about to show the bad news to Aaron, as he's going to be playing a lot of energies right here because of the double Aqua Patch he just had. And now Octillery gets to draw him a couple of cards. And now you see Israel start to really get the ball rolling for his own side of the field.
Yeah, that's right. Now that he has 3 energies online, 160 damage is available to him. That's enough to knock out a Gallade, and he hasn't even played a supporter for the turn, so he has options here. It looks like
he's going to be playing a Bridget.
Might just go for Bridget for the Vulpix. Like, he doesn't need that much anymore. So to make sure that he has options for the following turns, he's going to continue to add to this setup he has, and 160 damage down on that Gallade. Both players moving so quickly and getting these big knockouts early.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing to see these players playing very crisply, but also very, very fast, as the action is just fast and furious here, as Israel Sosa does take his first prize of the game to tie things up at 5 apiece. And Aaron Tarbell now gets to start his own turn. He gets a Sylveon, actually, from that Eevee that he just benched the previous turn. And now Sylveon will be able to start setting things up here for Aaron very methodically, in a sense, because he will be able to find him any 3 cards that he likes from his deck every turn as his own attack until the Pokemon does get knocked out. Yeah,
that's right. He has Magical Ribbon, which will allow him to do this. And we saw that Aaron was actually able to set up this play for himself over the last turn. He decided Eevee wasn't going to be important for him because this Gallade might not last very long. So he knows that setup is going to continue to be a very important factor, and these 3 cards could really get him far if he doesn't see an end on the following turn.
Magical Ribbon is the attack that's being used right now, as Aaron is contemplating between the 3 cards he wanted to find, and he does indeed find them, and now it's Israel Sosa's turn here. He has a single energy in play because he had to discard 2 of them in order to knock out the Glade, but it was definitely worth it, as now we see the Alolan Ninetales start to get things going again, as he now plays an N, getting rid of all the cards in Aaron Tarbell's hand, and both of these players will be shuffling back their hand and drawing 5 cards apiece, as that's how many prizes they have remaining.
Yeah, that's right. And the most important piece is Aaron isn't going to have access to those cards that he just searched out for. If you're able to have an attack like Beacon come off, like the Magical Ribbon, it generally is going to mean that you're in a fantastic spot. So the fact that he was able to slow that down is very nice for Israel.
So here's the thing, by the way, is the Alolan Ninetales had to retreat, spending its final energy in order to promote the Alolan Ninetales with a double colorless energy attached to it. Mm-hmm. So that is a lot of energies that are kind of going into the discard pile here by Israel, whether it be by his attack or by retreating. And that doesn't really put him ahead when it comes to the board, even though you would think he would be based on the Pokemon that have been knocked out.
Yeah, it's also important when you see that he chose to retreat, and then he had the energy on the benched Alolan Ninetales. He doesn't want to have more energy than required on his side of the field, because you don't want to give Gardevoir access to more damage. So the fact that Israel's playing around that already, he knows that double colorlesses are going to get him where he needs to be. Just continue to pester Aaron with some 50 snipes and get yourself set up. Always have Ice Path GX available if Aaron overextends. And you can put yourself in a fairly good position.
Yeah, it's a very interesting give and take here. And we do have to keep in mind that Israel does play... well, actually, I guess I should check just before I say that. Yeah, he does play the Acerola, which is a very interesting supporter that comes out of the Burning Shadows expansion, as it will allow him to kind of keep refreshing these Ninetales as the Gardevoir will struggle to knock out these Ninetales in one hit.
We see Aaron has access to a little bit of damage on his side. He can go ahead and use Fairy Wind. It's going to put 110 damage down, and it's an awkward number for Israel. He doesn't want to push that damage onto a Sylveon, wasting his GX attack, but he also doesn't want to allow that attack to happen again. It would be a 2-hit knockout. Sure. So now we see that now Israel's kind of on the back foot, doesn't know what he's going to be doing here.
Yeah, that's an aggressive play here by Aaron, but it's a very calculated aggression, as it's just it doesn't put your Sylveon at risk, so you're not going to be at risk of having no energy in play. But more importantly, it really messes with Israel's plan, as you saw how Israel was starting to go after the routes and whatnot, starting to take them down. But this is kind of Aaron's way of saying, no, that's not going to be how we're going to play this game. I'm going to bring the action to you, and now he forces Israel to use his GX attack right away.
Yeah, and I mean, that takes away a big piece from Israel's arsenal, but he did it so quickly that you have to think that that was the only play that he was considering at that point. And here we see the Acerola already coming down. Takes all that damage off of the board. The Sylveon is protected now, back into the hand, along with those energy cards, which are going to be very useful. Now Aaron is going to be showing some aggression here with his Gardevoir.
Sure enough, the Gardevoir GX does have 2 energy attached to it now.
He's got that Wonder Energy.
Yeah, indeed, the Wonder Energy and the Fairy Energy. And now that's a ton of damage going on to Alolan Ninetales here, as 120 damage does get applied to the Alolan Ninetales, which has already used its GX attack. So now things are looking firmly in Aaron's favor here, as, I mean, Alolan Ninetales just doesn't deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is where we're going to see those choice bands. They would have been so crucial. If you were able to put 80 damage on a Gardevoir, setting up for a future Blizzard Edge from this benched Alolan Ninetales, you could see Israel start to swing it into his favor. But instead, just 50 damage is really all he's going to have access to.
I wonder if he actually picked up a choice band from his prizes. Did you see?
I did not see. So that yeah.
I thought he might have been able to, given the how the prizes were sorted. But it'll be interesting to see if he did or not.
No, I mean,
well,
Aaron
does this Alolan Ninetales GX.
It doesn't have to do very much. He's in a favorable spot, and the fact that we're seeing Israel bringing out the Octillery means I think we might see Guzma.
Yeah, Guzma action.
Oh, he's got the Float Stone, even better. So now he's got options. Guzma still is live for him. He's got free retreaters in Tapu Koko, but no, he's just going to get himself some more cards with the Professor Sycamore.
So instead of going with any other supporter, he chooses to go with Old Faithful Professor Sycamore, drawing himself 7 new cards by discarding his entire hand. And yeah, it really comes down to whether he has the choice band or not, and it seems like he doesn't.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate for him. Generally, this is a great setup for him to score these big knockouts, but he does not have access to that. And we've already seen Acerola in the discard pile, which means a Versus Seeker could just pull that right back up, and all the damage that Israel's done is going to be for naught.
So what can Israel do then? I mean, I'm just struggling to see a solution to this problem.
Yeah, I think he just has to continue to do what he's doing.
So you just do 160?
Yeah, just he has to put down damage, have threats, and hope that that's enough. And it seems like he might just be playing right into an Acerola here, and there's not much he can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, even if I know that a lot of Gardevoir decks do play things like Max Potion too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't know if Aaron does or doesn't, but I'm just saying you really don't want to be kind of just doing what he just did here in this particular situation, which is just kind of hoping that that Aaron has no answers to this, because you know that Aaron likely does.
Yeah, but looking in Aaron's hand, I don't see a VS Seeker.
Yeah, no VS Seeker, no Max Potion, no Acerola.
We'll see what he's able to come up with here. So much damage on that Gardevoir GX.
Secret Spring.
Yeah, and it looks like he's just going to have to commit to it. He's just going to go all in. He's got the Parallel City. Can get rid of some cards over on Israel's side.
I believe we're looking at 180 damage. No, we're not. We're looking at 210, right? Which is a knockout.
210 damage is definitely nothing to scoff at. And he's got the choice band on top also. So
that is the end of Alolan Ninetales GX here.
He's got so much damage available to himself here. Aaron in a fantastic spot. And I'm considering now, would he have evened Acerola in this spot if he just has this big knockout available to him?
I mean, if Israel can counter with a double colorless energy on the top of Lele plus an end to one, given Aaron's field, I mean, there is still the chance that Israel can come back. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not likely here, as Aaron is definitely going to be going down to a single prize at the end of this turn.
Yep, and with that Oranguru available to himself, N is going to be not as effective as we've seen it in so many of these games coming down to those late game ends.
So it looks like Aaron might be striking first blood here, as Israel still needs to get something going in this game. He has a Versus Seeker, which he'll for sure be playing on an N here, and he does have a Alolan Ninetales GX instead of the Tapu Lele attack, which is an even better attacker in this case.
Oh, he's going to try to stall out a little bit. This is an interesting play here, too. He's got the Guzma, so he can bring up this Oranguru and then start to snipe around it. He's just not going to attack into it at all.
Yeah, at this point, he's kind of just hoping that his opponent doesn't have anything going on in his hand. But, I mean, just look at Aaron's hand. Aaron's hand is something like 6 cards, 7 cards, 8 cards.
Yep.
So that's just too many options here.
Israel finally finding some of those choice bands. Only 1 left in the prize cards now.
That is the good news for Israel, but it's still looking hard. It's still looking like an uphill battle here for Israel as Aaron has a lot of options in his hand.
Yep.
But it seems like one of the options is not a Guzma.
Yeah, Aaron can just use Psychic if he wants to and get a little bit of damage onto this Alolan Ninetales. An interesting line, but it seems that's going to pay off for him.
Yeah, it will be 100 damage actually going onto the Ninetales, but that's still not a 2-hit knockout.
Yeah, but for Israel, this is also very important too. If he's able to knock out this Oranguru and use N in the same turn, he may be able to just strand Aaron with a Gardevoir and nothing else really, and then he can just win the game with his Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It looks like 130 damage now will be applied by the Oranguru's attack.
Yeah, Psychic plus that Choice Band is going to put a lot of damage down. 150?
I thought it's 130.
Yeah, it
should be 130. Yeah, it should be 130.
Well, we'll see if they're going to correct that for us. But anyway, overall on Israel's side, important now he needs to find that end. This is going to be the big piece to stop basically everything that Aaron's been able to do to this point. If he's not able to find Fairy Energies and continue to use all of his attacks, then we're going to see him in trouble.
Okay, so Rough Seas here should bring him down to 100.
Okay, so they're showing that the attack did bring him down. Yeah, they should be fixing it for us now.
Okay, so it should be 100 at the end of this Rough Seas.
Yep, and the numbers are going to start to get pretty relevant when he starts to remove the damage, remove the energy cards from himself.
Okay, cool. So it does get fixed. It's 100 damage instead of 130, which is very, very relevant.
Yep, and we see a Field Blower coming down.
Now, do we get to see we see another Guzma? No end still, but instead he chooses to go the Guzma path.
Yeah, and
that's an interesting play.
Well, he does have the Choice Band now, so he has the knockout available to him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, too, because it's also going to get rid of the water energies from him in order to avoid the one-hit knockout from the Oranguru. And now Israel is down to a single prize. Look at that.
Yeah, and all that Aaron has on his side of the board is going to be this Oranguru. He has to start attacking with it, and it doesn't have any knockouts available.
Yeah, it deals 80 damage right now, which means Choice Band will be able to give him the knockout, I believe. Yeah, Choice Band gives him the knockout. Everything else does not.
Yeah, but Aaron does not play many Choice Bands in this list.
He only plays one, and it's already gone.
Just the one, and it's out. So Aaron looking through to see what he's got available to himself. Looks like Hex Maniac is going to be the play here.
So now if Israel can reply with an Acerola here, the game could very well end in Israel's favor.
Yeah, well, Israel, if he's able to get himself another Aqua Patch, he can get himself in a fantastic spot. It's just all these...
An Aqua Patch does basically end the game, too.
And Aaron's just going to try his best. He's going to lock out that Octillery ability and hopefully see Israel does not have the cards able to finish this game out.
Also, look at how the Parallel City's placed, making it so that Israel's Pokemon do a little bit less damage.
Yep, that's also going to be, it could be pretty relevant too. And now Israel just looking to make sure that he has all the cards ready for himself.
Looks like another Guzma.
Fia Seeker Guzma, Aqua Patch
That
game.
is the double color synergy. Aqua Patch, that is going to be the game. Israel Sosa will be taking game 1. Wow. It looked like it was over for Israel for a long, long time.
Israel flashing the 3 Choice Bands at the very end, saying, these were all prized. How did I beat you?
Oh, man. Always a showman is Israel Sosa, as he just pulls off a very improbable victory here against Aaron Tarbell in game 1. This is a best 2 out of 3 series, just like every other round in this tournament. But, I mean, game 1 going to Israel after him being down 5 prizes to 1 is just unbelievable.
I don't know how he did it, honestly. I'm going to have to go back and watch because it seems improbable when you take away that 30 damage with that Choice Band. The fact that a Tapu Koko can soften up all of those Pokemon over on Aaron's side, and then you can score a big knockout, 210 damage with a Professor Kukui. And that's really the only way we'd think about winning this game, honestly. It takes too long to snipe for 50 and then set up a knockout. But we saw that he was actually able to pull it off, and congratulations to Israel on this opening game win.
Yeah, on top of that, the choices that he made with Guzma in particular were just, they were great. They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
He chose to go with Guzma instead of going with things like an N and hoping your opponent just doesn't draw out of it and stuff like that. He knew that his opponent had a Ranguru, which was going to just draw him additional cards, and he didn't want to go that route. He said that if you have it right now, then all right, it is what it is. You're going to win game one. But you obviously haven't been showing that you have it yet, so those prizes need to be very helpful to you. Otherwise, I'm going to be able to start taking some quick prizes and just take all your offense away. Force you to attack with a Ranguru, and that's exactly what Aaron had to do.
Looking at both these players starting to draw their opening hands for this game too here. Aaron's going to be starting himself off with a Ralt, and I did not see what Israel has on his side, but the hand wasn't relatively too strong, so it looks like he did set himself up pretty well here with that top deck of an N, though.
We had a really interesting camera shot right now where it looked like we were creeping from behind of some executors. It was pretty interesting and fun.
Those Alolan executors are awesome.
Indeed they are. Sure enough, Aaron Tarbell will be starting game one off now against Israel Sosa. He is down 1-0, so he will need to take a couple of games here in order for him to get a victory in this first round. Otherwise, victory or a draw will be going to Israel Sosa, depending on how this next game goes.
Aaron just saved himself with that last draw there. He needed to find a basic Pokemon because playing that double colorless energy was very dangerous on that Ralts. He basically just opened himself up to Israel. If you have a Tapu Lele and a double colorless energy, you just win the game.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has this Tapu Lele, doesn't matter what he searches for right now. He just needs to have another Pokemon on the field in order to keep going.
Now Israel is playing an Ultra Ball. Again, discarding a couple of water energies. Kind of his ideal play here.
It's been so good for him. It's both games now he's been able to pull off this play.
This time he finds a Remoraid with his Ultra Ball.
Yeah, this either means that he has the Bridget in hand or he has the Tapu Lele in hand. So the Lele, it should be finding him Bridget if he wants to go for a slower approach, or he might be eyeing up that aggression we see there.
Yeah, it looks like he's eyeing up a Sycamore. Maybe his hand just doesn't have any other supporters, and he's just trying to find himself as many Pokemon as he can through this Sycamore and just find additional options that way. But he will definitely want to find another Vulpix at the end of this turn.
Yep, we'll see.
Oh, there it is. He found it already. And an Aqua Patch.
That is
what a
something.
Turn. Man, what a hand here from Israel. It's not the kind of explosion we're used to seeing out of, decks from, say, the last previous years, but it's explosive nonetheless.
Yeah, if you can get all these Pokemon onto your bench without using Bridget, I'd say you had a pretty good hand. And
no kidding, as now the third Vulpix does come down, and now another energy gets attached, this time from the hand onto the new Vulpix.
That's right. He also has Octillery in hand already, so he's set up to draw some more cards in the future. And right now he can get himself the Alolan Ninetales and a Tapu Lele for a supporter in the following turn. So fantastic start for Israel. And Aaron is just thanking his lucky stars that his Ralts was able to survive this turn, because it was pretty scary for him, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. Now Bridget will be the supporter of choice here for Aaron on his second turn. Now, you almost always want to go with like an Eevee and a couple of routes here in this type of situation.
Yeah, if he has if he has the Sylveon in his deck, we saw it in the opening hand, but all he needs is to have a Fairy Energy, and then Eevee turns into 3 cards out of your deck, which is fantastic. So we're going to see the Sylveon come down. He also has Rare Candy and a bunch of other cards to help him really progress his board state too. So we'll see what lines Aaron decides to go with.
So it looks like Aaron is going to be using his Eevee's ability to bring the Sylveon into play on his second turn right away, retreats the routes, discarding the double colorless energy, but Sylveon's Magical Ribbon will find him 3 cards from his deck, kind of one-upping the beacon attack from Alolan Vulpix there.
Oh, you got 2 Pokemon? That's cute. Let me show you how it's done.
Yeah, step aside, kid.
Yep, and right now Aaron has Rare Candy Gardevoir, Rare Candy Gardevoir GX in his hand. So he can get a huge board set up for himself as long as he does not see an N.
Yeah, I really want to see an N here from Israel if I'm him. And he's going for a Tapu Lele. It looks like he might too.
Yeah, this is something that Israel predicted, and he set himself up.
Huge card here for Israel. As I mean, first of all, you're almost always going to want to end away an opponent's magical ribbon attack.
Yes.
But in this particular situation here, Aaron's hand was just absolutely loaded.
And now it's just up to Aaron to draw into something else, because every time that he uses this magical ribbon, Israel's going to be fishing for that end.
Yeah, that is kind of the downside to the magical ribbon attack.
He was making his decision as he attacked right there. I don't know where to put this damage, but I think he did make the right play here. Just trying to soften up that Sylveon a little bit. Does give Aaron access to Acerola, but I wouldn't be too concerned about that right now.
Yeah, you make it a lot more dangerous for your opponent to attach the double colorless energy to the active Sylveon. Like, you almost take that play away from them.
Yeah. Away goes the Field Blower. We haven't seen Field Blower provide too much for either player in these matchups, kind of just using the card whenever it's available to them. It's mainly for playing against Garbodor decks. And Aaron looks like he's going to be eyeing up an N of his own. He used an Ultra Ball, though, so I think he may have skipped a piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah, something looked a little wrong to me there. I just couldn't quite put my finger on it.
Well, he was one step ahead. We've seen that from players, and of course, there's so many nerves at the big stage here.
Yeah, sometimes your brain is just going, a mile a minute, and there's nothing you can really do there at that point. Like, you're in your own head. You already did all the correct moves, but your hands couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Well, Aaron definitely going to be looking for some evolution cards. The fact that he's been getting pieces but not the whole everything in his hand has just been messing with him. And we see it once again,
at least a
Curlia, but he has 2 rare candies, I believe, in hand. So Magical Ribbon can get him set up for an amazing turn if he doesn't see end.
I mean, that is kind of what Magical Ribbon does, right? Like, it gets all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yes.
Like, you're always missing a couple of pieces, and then Magical Ribbon just kind of brings those together. But it's not like it's a secret to Israel.
Right.
Like, yes, you're putting the cards face down in front of Israel, but Israel has a pretty good idea of what you're finding.
You're basically showing him. He knows exactly what you're going for.
And, I mean, first of all, any good player will be able to figure that out. But then you have a world-class player sitting across from you, and you have a pretty good idea that if your opponent has access to an end, he's likely going to play it.
Yeah. Over on Israel's side, it looks like he's got a couple options to himself. Double colorless energy is fantastic for him. It gives him options to take a knockout on this Curlia if he wants to. So we can see him do that. Floatstone onto the Octillery. And then he can take this knockout with Tapu Lele, but of course wants to get himself that 1 extra card there too. Great play.
Yeah, here's the thing though, he did not play the end here, which means we will see at the very least 1 Gardevoir GX, but I think we were going to see 2.
Yeah, I think he knows that this is going to be going down for him. At least he was able to remove the double colorless energy off of the board. That Curlia was going to become a Gardevoir, and there was going to be a lot of pressure on the field.
So Rare Candy does evolve the first Gardevoir GX that we see in play here for Aaron. That is going to be the bench Gardevoir.
Oh, I missed a. I don't think we see a second Rare Candy. So that Curlia was intended to be a Gardevoir, and that's going to slow down Aaron a little bit here. But at least he does have this Guzma for himself. Gardevoir GX coming down, and this is going to be enough damage to knock out an Alolan Vulpix. But he can get himself a little extra and get himself set up for potentially doing a lot of damage to an Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because I'm really not excited for Aaron's turn there. After he Magical Ribboned and did not get in, you almost kind of expected more out of this turn from Aaron. And Israel just had the counterplay there with the Guzma to the routes, or to the Curlia. Mm-hmm. Now, where Rough Seas comes into play, not too relevant right now, but still, it's important for it to be in play for Israel. And now a Super Rod brings back a few Pokemon and energies, shuffles them back into the deck, and this is just, it's a big setup here for Israel. Aaron's going to have to find a way to start getting these one-hit knockouts onto these Alolan Ninetales GXs if he wants to take this game to a Game 3, this match to a Game 3.
Yeah. We see he does have that Choice Band. Finally, he's getting some use out of that in an earlier stage than before. And Israel's getting set up on his Tapu Leles. He knows that a lot of this is going to be 2-hit knockouts, set-up knockouts, so he's going to use every Pokemon that he has at his disposal.
That is indeed correct. Also, Acerola is very important in this, well, potentially very important in this matchup, given if the game plays out a certain way. So he wants to have additional attackers. He wants to always be able to kind of swarm his attackers and stop your opponent from taking easy prizes. And also, keep in mind, he has not used his GX attack this game either, so Ice Path GX will likely play a pretty big role at some point in this match, or in this game.
That's right. Aaron basically has to commit a lot of resources here to this Gardevoir GX if he wants to take the knockout, and he's fishing right now, looking for some double colorless, some fairy energies, and he found both.
Yeah, double colorless energy should be enough.
Yep, that's going to get him to that magical number of 210 the exact hit points of the Alolan Ninetales, and 80 damage on the Gardevoir means that potentially Israel is going to be able to score a knockout. Just depends how many energies he's able to commit on his own side. Yeah,
and that is a field blower, getting rid of the float stone on the Octillery and the Rough Seas as well. But I mean, that's a powerful attack, man. That we're seeing the power of Gardevoir GX. It's so incredible how fast they can just get this insane amount of damage going. 210 damage is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. Now looking over at Israel's side.
3 prizes left for Aaron, by the way. Only 5, or still 5 remaining for Israel.
Israel able to find that Aqua Patch, gets himself set up a little bit more on that Ninetales, and it looks like he has a VS Seeker, likely going to be for Sycamore here. Going to be trying to find one of those Alolan Ninetales, or maybe even a Rescue Stretcher to pull some of the ones that are in his discard pile. And looks like I see an Ultra Ball. Has the Sudowoodo down for himself also. Just can limit what Aaron's doing on his side. One less Pokemon that he could have on his bench, but doesn't do too much for him right here.
Right, not terribly relevant, but not irrelevant either, so it's fine. Now, Alolan Ninetales GX is the most Pokemon we see here. It's his last Alolan Ninetales in play, though.
Yeah, he's running out of ways to do a lot of damage. It looks like Alolan Ninetales and Tapu Lele are going to be the guys who have to get him over the finish line here.
And that's going to be the knockout on that Gardevoir GX. 3 prizes apiece now for both Aaron Tarbell and Israel Sosa in this second game, as Israel is up 1-0 with only 17.5 minutes remaining. Aaron does not have too much going outside of that Gardevoir GX with a single Fairy Energy.
Yep, Israel doesn't have to worry about being knocked out here. The fact that he has 1 energy left on his Ninetales, and that we've seen a bunch of double colorless already hit the discard pile. There's just no way that this that Infinite Force is going to take out this Alolan Ninetales here.
Famous last words.
So Israel has to be feeling a bit confident about his spot, but now he needs to put the rest of the puzzle together. He's got a little damage on a Sylveon, and he's got a Tapu Lele on the bench, so he's got to just find it here.
Hex Maniac played by Aaron, and now he's going to be using his GX attack, getting these cards back into his deck. You said it yourself. He spent a lot of resources. He really wants to get them back. As Twilight GX will be finding them and shuffling them back in.
Yeah, we see 3 double colorless. Aaron knows that he wasn't going to be able to finish the game without those cards. And Hex Maniac is a good way to just buffer the turn. You know that you're going to be sacrificing a turn here, getting all these cards back into your deck. So if you can stop your opponent from having access to abilities, you may be able to limit the amount of damage that's going to be dealt to you while you sit this turn out.
Oh, okay. So a very interesting choice here by Aaron, and it seems like a very calculated play, as he says, okay, I'll take 1 turn off of attacking you. I don't think that's going to end this game in your favor, but I really need these resources, so, I mean, I have no real choice.
And Israel looks like he's just going to use an N here. He had Aqua Patch in his hand. He could have used that onto his Alolan Vulpix if he wanted to, but he thinks that that's going to provide him more in the future. So he's just going to hold on to that, and hopefully it'll find himself a big knockout later.
So he is only providing himself 3 cards here.
Yep. No access to Octillery either,
yeah.
So just a plain 50 damage. It's going to come down.
You can see the nerves, this kind of energy flowing through both of these players as they're now down to 15 minutes remaining. And now Israel will be forced to discard a couple of Pokemon from his bench as the Parallel City hits play. A Choice Band and a Fairy Energy come down right away for Gardevoir GX. And a Sycamore drawing Aaron 7 cards here. Will he find what he needs?
It looks like he
still needs a double colorless energy.
He found Acerola, Curlia, and a rare candy, a few energies
but
as
no
well.
No DCE, right?
But yeah, did not find that double colorless energy.
That double colorless energy was exactly what he was fishing for. He needed it so bad in this situation, but it seems like he did not find it. I don't see any additional ways for him to draw cards, so it looks like we're not going to be seeing a big knockout on this Alolan Ninetales GX. That's exactly what he was fishing for, as he wanted to take Israel Sosa out of this game.
Yep, and attaching the energy to his Gardevoir GX would have actually just taken him out of the game here. Just a simple ice path would have pushed all the damage over to the Gardevoir. So Aaron's wisely going to be just putting enough damage that won't knock out his Gardevoir right back, but definitely going to put an impact onto that Alolan Ninetales.
So does the Ninetales get a return knockout here? Can it find a Choice Band?
Yeah, that would be able to help him out here. We see Rough Seas coming down. It's going to remove a little bit of this damage. And Israel really just counting prize cards at this point, trying to figure out how he closes out this game.
A Choice Band would be the play.
4 cards here.
He does not find it yet. 1 card remaining, he does not find it at all.
No.
So both of these players are struggling to hit what they need. Now, is there a Tapu Lele still remaining in this deck for Israel?
Israel's already played 2, and he only plays 2. So, yeah, he won't have access to that either. And we know that he's in a scary spot because 160 damage can just get swallowed up by an Acerola.
They both had the option to really close their game out on their opponents here, and neither player hit what they needed. Kind of it's kind of justice right there, actually. Like, I'm perfectly okay with this happening if it didn't happen to Aaron as well, Just kind of keep this game going, see who can maneuver them a victory out of this for themselves.
Well, if Israel's truly counting prize cards here, he does have access to Guzma. He can use Guzma, retreat one of his Pokemon, and then maybe ice pass that damage over and stay alive. But the fact that you have so many energies on your side means that you're going to get knocked out right back.
There's nothing you can really do about that.
So it looks like he's probably just going to use Blizzard Edge here and take the knockout.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to do, leave himself with just 1 prize card remaining.
But no energies in play. And you have to believe that Aaron's just extremely happy about that kind of a situation here. He did not expect his Gardevoir GX to really make it out of that turn.
Yeah, I think one big card for Aaron here is going to be if he had access to Hex Maniac. We don't see that, though.
Acerola.
The Acerola is going to be nice. It's able to pick up that Gardevoir, and now he can just put all his eggs in this basket. He knows that he can just throw these energies down, and he's in a fantastic spot. Tapu Lele is not going to take a return knockout, and he can set himself up for these last 3 prizes.
It's just so much damage the Gardevoir GX deals, man. So much damage. Right away, it's already dealing 150 damage without any energies on your opponent's side of the field.
That's pretty good.
Back in my day, 4 energies dealt 100, and you had to discard them.
Okay, so the pieces of this puzzle in order to win the game, it's going to be Aqua Patches, an Energy,
and a
Guzma, and a Choice Band. So we'll see if he can get all of those cards. The fact that he has access to Octillery means that it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh,
double Aqua Patch. Yeah, we saw that he had the double Aqua Patch, but, he's still missing so many things.
Well,
there's a double colorless.
Going to get 4 cards. He has the Guzma.
He's got the Guzma.
So now Octillery for this Choice Band.
Choice Band. Can he find it? He had so many of the resources. One by one, he's peeking at him. He's got 1 card remaining. He hasn't found it yet. He still doesn't find it.
He found the float stone. That's not the tool he was looking for.
He was looking at him one by one, just kind of milking this process, but it would not come out. Nothing he could do. There was nothing he could find.
Oh, it was the next card.
Oh, my goodness. But there was only 1 Choice Band remaining, right?
Yeah, he had 2. He had 1 at the bottom and 1 at the top.
Oh, no. Field Blower gets rid of the stadium and the choice band. So now all he can do is deal 160.
And he's going to hope that Field Blower was able to put himself out of range, but we'll see how much that actually did here. It looks like Aaron does have a VS Seeker, so a Guzma in the discard pile would mean that he wins the game here. So many cards can get him over the finish line.
All he needs is another energy too, right? 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. Yeah, all he needs is another energy.
And to get out of the active spot.
Right, well, he has one in hand, so he places the one onto the top of Lele and then another one on the Gardevoir.
He's going to count it out using this Super Rod, going to shuffle in the Sylveon line and one more of those Fairy Energy cards.
Does he have what he needs? I mean, it seems like it's almost impossible for Aaron not to have it this time around. He has the Versus Seeker, finds the Guzma. There it is. Game 2 goes to Aaron, as now there's only 9 minutes remaining in before this match is over, and they're going to have to complete a Game 3. Both of these players had so many opportunities. You saw Aaron just with a heartbreaking miss on his second to last turn, and then Israel missing twice.
Oh, yeah. When he gets to see 5 cards, he only had 11 left in his deck, it looked like, and 2
of them were
choice.
Yeah. 2 of the cards that he needed in that 11-card deck were in the bottom 6 cards.
Yep. And we see just how important that card was. And it amplifies the fact that winning Game 1 was amazing with he not having any of those, all 3 in his prize cards. So Israel probably going to have about 8 minutes to try to close out a very quick game. It's hard for Gardevoir to win fast games, but we've seen it too. This deck can go pretty fast if it gets one of those amazing setups. Maybe a magical ribbon is able to hit a no end from the opponent's side. So this game can close. It just depends who gets the better hand here, honestly.
You see these players having a conversation. You know, it's interesting to note that this is a very unique tournament. The day one format is. All you need to do is have the equivalent of 5 wins out of 7 rounds in order to advance to day 2. Yep. It doesn't matter how you do it. You can actually exit this tournament in the 5th round by just going 5-0. So a draw is absolutely terrible for these players. It's so much worse in this particular format than it is in normal Swiss round events, the normal, events that we have. Just because there's so many fewer rounds and you already know what your target goal is. You're not trying to beat X amount of players or anything like that. All you're trying to do is achieve a certain amount of match points throughout the tournament.
Yeah, and no one's trying to go 4-0-3.
No,
it is a
so
way
more difficult
to get 15 match points, but it's so scary too. So taking ties in these spots can be difficult. A lot of players, honestly, they'll just have an agreement of who's ever in the best spot at the end of the game, I'll just give you the points because you've earned it, and it's not going to do very much for me.
Right. So I would not be surprised to see something along those lines here in this particular case because, again, a victory is so much more important for these guys than a draw would be. And they both know that. They're both world-class players.
Well, Israel starting off with a Professor Kukui, not going to be able to get any attacks off. That 20 damage extra is not going to benefit him, but those 2 cards were able to find him an Ultra Ball, so maybe he can get moving.
There is that. But all he has is a double colorless energy onto the Tapu Lele, and he's forced to pass.
And over on Aaron's side, doesn't even need to use the Tapu Lele to find the bridge. It just has it in his hand, and that's exactly what he wants to start off with. Looking at the prize cards over on Israel's side, not terribly relevant. He does have a pretty thick auxiliary line, so doesn't have to worry about that Remoraid. But honestly, he's just thinking, there's not much time left, is there? I need to get some Pokemon down.
Man, so yeah, there's 6 minutes remaining now, by the way. 6 minutes remaining, and Bridget is the ideal supporter here. Obviously, much better than a Kukui, but I mean, still, you're forced to play a long game unless Israel just doesn't find Pokemon. But you see the bad news is you see an Ultra Ball right away from Israel, choosing what to discard, decides to get rid of the Field Blower.
Yeah, and we don't get to see the patented Ultra Ball away 2 waters into some Aqua Patches. That's not going to happen. Instead, Israel's just going to have to go with the Tapu Lele for an N.
Yeah, just not ideal. I mean, granted, it's not like this is going to be a complete game, so it's not like spending these resources this early on is going to really come back and bite you. But still, it's not something you want to be doing, especially because you have no Vulpix in play. and this is your second turn of the game.
And you're a Ninetales deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you're going to be looking for. Still needs to find a couple more Pokemon. Two Tapu Lele isn't very hard for Aaron to get through with his Gardevoir deck.
I mean, we saw Israel naturally draw into these Vulpix last game, but without needing a Bridget. Does he do it this game? It looks like he does, as he has an Ultra Ball, and he has a Alolan Vulpix here, so he can definitely find a second Vulpix if he chooses to. I think I would. He has an Ultra Ball and a Double Colorless Energy as his choices, as well as an Aqua Patch. Looks like I would get rid of the Ultra Ball, I think. I think the other two cards are just too important.
Yeah, he has to just... It's awkward for him. Normally, you Ultra Ball for a Tapu Lele, and you get yourself a supporter. But instead, now he has to think, maybe I need to go for pieces of my Remoraid line, my auxiliary line, and he can do that either with multiple beacons or just searching out the whole pieces.
Yeah, I believe he's making the right choice here. He does choose to sacrifice a lot of resources, but he has a Alolan Vulpix in play as his active Pokemon, and he's choosing to beacon into an Alolan Ninetales and a Remoraid. So he doesn't have a very good hand. I mean, that's very obvious, but he's making the best use of his resources with what he's got.
Yep, Aaron on his side, just able to play down a Fairy Energy, use Sycamore, hoping to find some evolution pieces. Finds that Diancie, he can start to evolve things on the following turn.
Oh, wow. You saw Aaron playing extremely fast. I thought actually that Aaron might have been playing so fast because he felt like he had the game in the bag. But instead, he was low on resources himself. And it looks like we saw a Versus Seeker top deck here from Israel. So both of these players are going to be getting a fresh hand after... did we not see a Remoraid come down?
Yeah, he did not play it down. There's a Parallel City, though.
Oh, that's true. That's a Parallel City in play. With double a Tapu Lele, not what you want to be seeing if you're Israel.
Yeah.
Hopefully for him, he finds a counter stadium in order to advance his position, and he does indeed. He finds a Rough Seas, and he's choosing to deal the 50 damage to the routes with the energy on it. Does seem like the correct play. And now you see how both of these players are playing extremely fast, but this is just not a fast matchup for these guys, as now there's 3 minutes remaining in the game, and a rare candy does bring down the first Gardevoir GX.
Yeah, this is what Aaron wanted to see off that earlier Sycamore. He wasn't able to find any evolutions. Instead, Israel gives all of these to him off of the N, plays his entire hand down, removes a Choice Band and a Rough Seas, and is able to get himself 6 fresh cards.
Man, okay, well, both of these guys are getting some explosive stuff. 2 minutes remaining, 2.5 minutes remaining. Still 6 prizes remaining for both of these players, but, I mean, you're starting to see the pieces come together for both of these puzzles, as now it's on Aaron Tarbell, who's got just a very powerful Gardevoir GX starting to get built up, and now a Fairy Energy gets attached to the Eevee, as now it's going to be evolving into the Sylveon GX. And retreat from Tapu Lele, we're going to be seeing some ribbon.
Yeah, this is a very big turn for Aaron. He's able to get himself a fantastic setup. I don't know if this is going to be boding well for him if he's trying to get a big knockout in the future. He's going to have to wait even further now instead of putting on some pressure. But it's hard to put on pressure to a Ninetales deck. They can just push the damage right back to you.
That's absolutely right. And Magical Ribbon will find those 3 cards from his deck. And that's going to be the end of Aaron's turn as he passes the turn with 1.5 minutes remaining. There is a lot of tension here because even though both of these players have 6 prizes remaining, like we said earlier, they both have their setups, their ideal setups. And at this point on, you're definitely going to start seeing some fireworks. The problem is, will they have enough time remaining in the round to let the fireworks kind of, do their work, or will it just kind of end an unfortunate draw for these players? Versus Seeker finds Israel and shuffles the Magical Ribbon cards back into the Aaron's deck and finds them both 6-card hands.
Yep, this means that Israel's not going to be able to take a knockout. It was pretty hard for him to take a knockout this turn anyways, but with only 1 minute on the clock now, both players are going to have a pretty difficult path to end this game. Possibly is going to be available for Aaron. He would just have to have an unchallenged Gardevoir for the rest of the game here, and it looks like Israel would be able to put up a pretty good fight against that, so it's going to be hard.
And now you see Israel just dealing 50 damage to the benched Curlia now. There's just so much damage being spread out that you have to think that Aaron's just not going to have a Gardevoir stick in this game. And now Parallel City actually doing damage or doing work on Aaron's own side of the field, as now the damage output from Alolan Ninetales will be a little bit lower because of it.
Yeah, if Aaron doesn't play another GX Pokemon down the rest of the game, there's no way for Israel to actually finish a game here. It is possible for Aaron, but he'd have to announce an attack in the next 6 seconds.
Which is just not happening.
It would have to take a GX knockout too. So I don't think we'll be able to see a clean end of this game, but maybe both players were able to work something out. Who knows?
So it looks like time is being called, and both of these players are going to be shaking hands, it seems like. Yeah, neither player really had an advantage in this situation either, so it's not like you can really say, oh, poor Israel or poor Aaron. He had this game in the bag. Absolutely not. Like, this game was wide open, and any of these players could have taken it.
Yep. And we just see the look on Israel's face. He knows he was so close. If he was able to get that choice band in game 2, he